She left at 2 in the morning. Not because 2 in the morning was the right time to leave. There was no right time to leave. She had been working that out for 3 weeks, and there was no version of it that was right. Only versions that were possible, and versions that were not. 2 in the morning was possible, because the house was quiet, because the man she was leaving was asleep, and stayed asleep when she eased the bedroom door shut, and because the cold outside was the cold of February in Wyoming, and not the colder thing waiting inside if she stayed. Her name was May Alcott. She was 24 years old. The baby was 7 months. She had $17, a carpet bag packed over 2 weeks in the small hours when the house was still, and a direction, east, toward the county seat, toward the woman she had been in a letter with since November, who had said, "Come, there is work at the hotel, you can bring the baby." She had not told anyone she was going. She could not have told anyone she was going. The man she was leaving was named Gus, and Gus had views about where she went, and who she told, and what the acceptable responses were when she told the wrong people or went the wrong places. And those views had been the shape of the last 3 years of her life, and she was done with that shape. She wrapped the baby, she picked up the bag, she walked out into the February cold. If you've ever walked into the unknown because the known had become unbearable, stay with me to the end of this story. Hit that like button and drop your city in the comments. I want to see how far this one travels. The baby's name was Clara, 7 months old, dark-haired, with the specific solemnity of a baby who had been in a tense house her whole life and had absorbed the tension without knowing what it was. She did not cry when May lifted her. She looked at her mother with the serious brown eyes and held on. May walked east. The road from the house to town was 4 miles, and May knew every step of it in the daylight, and considerably fewer of them in the February dark. And the February dark was the absolute dark of a place far from any light source, with the cold that the Wyoming high plains produced in February as a matter of commitment rather than accident. She had a lantern. She had not lit it because lit meant visible, and visible meant findable. She walked in the dark with Clara against her chest, and the bag in her right hand, and the cold doing what the cold did, which was to find every gap in every layer and press into it. She made 2 miles. She knew she made 2 miles because she passed the fence post with the split top that she had always used as a landmark on this road, and the split top post was halfway to town. She made the 2 miles, and then Clara began to cry. Not the preliminary cry, the real one, the escalating cry of a baby who is cold and has reached the end of what can be managed without intervention. May stopped and opened her coat and held Clara inside it, and rocked, and made the sounds that worked in the house when Clara cried, the specific rhythm that Clara responded to, and the crying slowed and stopped. And then May realized she could not move her left hand. Not frostbitten, not yet, but the cold had gotten into the hand that had been holding the bag, and the hand was not responding properly, and the bag was very heavy, and the town was 2 more miles. She stood on the road in the February dark. She was not going to let herself stop moving. She put the bag down. She tucked her left hand inside her coat. She looked at the bag and thought, "I can come back for it. The coat has the money. The baby has me. The bag is a bag." She left the bag. She kept walking. He found her at the 3-mile mark. His name was Jesse Pratt, and he had the property north of the main road. And he was on the road at 2:30 in the morning because his oldest mare had been struggling since evening, and he had spent 2 hours with her, and had finally decided she needed the veterinarian in town, which was a 4-mile drive and which he was making in the February cold because the mare had been with him for 9 years, and he was not going to make her wait until morning. He was in the wagon with the lamp lit and the horse moving at the working pace he used on night roads when he saw her. Not immediately, She was a shape in the road, and then a woman with something against her chest that resolved into a baby when he pulled the horse up. He pulled up. He looked at her. She looked at him with the expression of someone who has been through a great deal and is still standing and is not going to pretend otherwise. "Ma'am?" he said. "I'm going to town," she said. Her voice was steady. He noted this. "In February," he said. "At 2 in the morning." "Yes," she said. He looked at the baby. "The baby is warm enough," May said. "I've been keeping her inside my coat." "Get in the wagon," he said. "I don't need—" "You're 3 miles from town in the middle of the night," he said. "Get in the wagon." She got in the wagon. He put the lamp between them and clicked the horse forward. He did not ask her any questions for the first half-mile, which she would remember later as the specific quality of judgment that distinguished him from most people she had encountered. He let her warm up. He let the silence be what it was. Then he said, "Is there someone behind you?" She held Clara. "There could be," she said. "When?" he said. "When he wakes up," she said. He nodded. He did not ask who or what or why. He clicked the horse to a faster pace. The town of Garrett, Wyoming, had 340 people and 1 hotel, and a woman named Mrs. Coe, who ran the hotel and who had been in correspondence with May since November. Mrs. Coe had a practical manner and a strong opinion about what women in difficult circumstances needed, which was work and not sympathy. Though she provided the sympathy too when it was warranted, she just led with the work. Jesse pulled the wagon up to the hotel at 3 in the morning. He got down. He offered May his hand, and she took it and stepped down with Clara. "I'll knock," he said. "You don't have to." "I'll knock," he said. He knocked. Mrs. Coe answered with the alertness of a woman who ran a hotel and had learned to be a light sleeper. She looked at May and the baby and Jesse Pratt and made her assessment in approximately 4 seconds. "Mrs. Alcott," she said. "Yes," May said. "Come in," Mrs. Coe said. She looked at Jesse. "You found her," she said. "On the road," he said. "Is there a man coming?" Mrs. Coe said. "Possibly," Jesse said. "All right," Mrs. Coe said. She said it the way she said things that were problems she was going to manage, which was flatly and without alarm. "Come in, both of you." They came in. Mrs. Coe's hotel had 12 rooms and a kitchen that operated from 5 in the morning until 9 at night, and a network of information that extended through most of Garrett County, which was the specific intelligence network of a woman who had been running a public establishment for 20 years, and who knew most things that happened within a day's ride. She put May and Clara in the room at the back of the 2nd floor, which was the room with the extra blanket and the window that faced the alley rather than the street, for reasons that went unspoken but were understood. She fed May. She held Clara while May ate. Jesse sat at the kitchen table with coffee and waited. "You don't have to wait," Mrs. Coe told him. "I know," he said. He waited. May came down at 4 with Clara on her hip, and the expression of someone who has been through the worst of something and is on the other side of it and is very tired. She looked at Jesse. "You're still here," she said. "Yes," he said. "Why?" she said. He held his coffee. "Because you left your bag on the road?" he said. "I put it in the wagon." She stared at him. "You went back for it," she said. "I had time before the vet," he said. "The vet," she said. You were going to the vet. Yes, he said. For what? She said. My mare, he said. Is she all right? She said. He looked at her. I haven't gotten there yet, he said. She sat down. You stopped for me, and you haven't gotten to your horse yet, she said. She'll make it another hour, he said. Mister, she stopped. I don't know your name. Jesse Pratt, he said. Jesse Pratt, she said. Go to your horse. I'll go when I know you're... I'm here, she said. Mrs. Coe is here. I have the bag and the money and the baby. Go to your horse. He held the coffee. He looked at her. She looked at him, with the direct eyes of someone who had been making hard decisions all night and had one more left in her. I'll come back in the morning, he said. To check. You don't have to, she said. No, he said. I know. He put his hat on. He went to his horse. Gus came to town on Friday. She had known he would come. She had known it from the moment she walked out the door. The question was not whether, but when. And when was Friday? 2 days after she had left. He came to the hotel. Mrs. Coe met him at the door. May was in the back room with Clara and could hear the conversation through the wall, or the parts of it that were above a certain volume, which included most of what Gus said. He said his wife had left and he wanted her back. Mrs. Coe said she was not aware of anyone here by that name. He said she was lying. Mrs. Coe said she had been running this hotel for 20 years and she was not going to be called a liar by a man on her porch. Gus said things that were not fit for the record. Mrs. Coe closed the door. She stood in the hallway and she listened to Gus on the porch, and then on the street, and then, eventually, not on the street. She came to the back room. He's gone to the sheriff, she said. May held Clara. All right, she said. The sheriff is Jim Aldred. Mrs. Coe said. He's a reasonable man, but your husband is going to tell him a version of this. I know, May said. Do you have anyone? Mrs. Coe said. Anyone who can say what the situation was. Thought about 3 years of a house with Gus's views in it. No one he'd listen to, she said. Mrs. Coe held her hands. I'll go talk to Jim myself, she said. I've known him 15 years. Mrs. Coe, you work for me now, she said. As of last night, which means you're my business. She went. Jesse appeared at the hotel at 9 that morning. He had come the previous morning too, as he'd said, and May had come down and they had talked briefly. He had told her the mare was going to be all right, which she had found she was genuinely glad about, and she had told him she was working for Mrs. Coe starting Monday, and he had said that was good and had gone. He had come back. He was at the kitchen table with coffee when May came down on Friday morning, and he looked at her face and said, He came. How did you know? She said. Mrs. Coe told me when I came in, he said. She went to the sheriff. I know, she said. Jim Aldred's a fair man, he said. So everyone says, she said. She sat across from him. Clara was in her arms, awake, doing her standard assessment of the room. Jesse held his coffee. What did you leave? He said. She looked at him. I mean, what kind of situation? He said. Not asking you to tell me if you don't want to, but I want to understand what you're dealing with. She held Clara. She thought about what to say and how much to say, and then decided that plain was the only useful approach. He was the kind of man, she said, who had views about everything and consequences for when those views were not met. He held the coffee. The baby, he said. Clara was not one of the consequences, she said. That's all I'll say about it. All right, he said. He's going to say I'm an unfit mother, she said. He's going to say I left in the middle of the night and took his child. Which you did, he said. Yes, she said. And the reason, he said, is the reason I gave you, she said. He held her gaze. I believe you, he said. She looked at him. You don't know me, she said. No, he said. But I found you on a road at 2 a.m. in February with a baby and no bag, and you were still moving. That's enough to know something. She held Clara. Jessie, she said. Yes. Why do you keep coming back? She said. He held the coffee. He was quiet in the way she was learning was his particular quality. Not the silence of someone avoiding the question, but the silence of someone taking the question seriously. My mother left a situation when I was 3, he said. She walked out in the winter with me and went to her sister's house, and the sister kept us until my mother could manage on her own. He held the cup. I don't remember any of it, but I know the shape of it because she told me when I was old enough to hear it. And, she said, and I always thought about the people who helped her. He said, the people who didn't ask questions or make it harder, the people who just were useful. She held Clara. You're trying to be useful, she said. Yes, he said. That's all, she said. He looked at her. That's where it started, he said. She held his gaze. She was a woman who had learned to read people from necessity, the specific reading that came from 3 years of managing a house with Gus's moods in it, and she read Jessie Pratt the way she read everything that mattered. She found he meant what he said and said what he meant, and the gap between those two things, which she had lived inside for 3 years, was not present here. Your mare, she said. Fern, he said. Is Fern all right? She said. She'll be fine, he said. Needed rest. The vet says she's been working too hard. You work her too hard, she said. Probably, he said. I have a farm and 1 horse and too much to do. That's a problem, she said. Yes, he said. She held Clara and looked at him across Mrs. Coe's kitchen table. The sheriff came at noon. Jim Aldred was a man of 50 with the practical patience of someone who had been a sheriff for 15 years and had learned that most situations benefited from hearing every version before making a decision. He sat in Mrs. Coe's kitchen. He listened to May. She told him the truth in the same plain way she had told Jessie, not the full version, not 3 years of full version, but the accurate shape of it, what Gus was and what his views had produced, and what she had done, and why. He listened. He was quiet for a moment. Mrs. Alcott, he said, your husband says you left without cause. My husband says a great many things, she said. He says you took the child without his knowledge. I took my child, she said, in the night because daytime was not safe. The sheriff held his hat. I can't force you to go back, he said. Legally, the situation is... He paused. Complex. I know what it is legally, she said. He could pursue it through the court, The sheriff said. I know. She said. If he does, you'll need... I'll figure it out, she said. He held his hat. Mrs. Coe vouches for you, he said. That counts for something in this county. Thank you, she said. He stood. He looked at the baby. Healthy, he said. Yes, she said. That counts too, he said. He went. Gus left town on Saturday. Not permanently. She was not naive enough to think permanently, but he left, which gave her the specific breathing room of a removed threat. The relief that was not safety, but was the precondition of safety, the first of the necessary things. She started work at the hotel on Monday. Mrs. Coe had the room at the back of the second floor for her and Clara, at the rate that came out of her wages, which was fair, and which she had negotiated on Tuesday with the same directness she had been using since Wednesday. Jesse came on Tuesday. He came with a pot of soup his housekeeper had made, which he said without apology or flourish, just, Berta made more than I needed. She told me to bring it. She looked at the soup. She looked at Jesse. This is going to be a regular thing. She said. What? He said. You coming? She said. He held the pot. I came to see how you were doing. He said. And Berta's soup is good. Jesse, she said. May, he said. She looked at him. I told you why you started. She said. Your mother, the winter, being useful. Yes, he said. What is it now? She said. He held the pot. He looked at Clara, who was on the kitchen table in her basket, regarding the soup pot with interest. I came on Wednesday morning, he said, because I'd said I would. Yes, she said. I came on Thursday, he said, because I wanted to know about the sheriff. And Friday, she said. Friday you needed someone there, he said. When Gus came. And Tuesday, she said. He looked at the soup. Tuesday is a different reason, he said. What reason? She said. He held her gaze. The reason you look at a person, he said. And you understand that whatever they're building, you'd like to be around when they build it. She held this. Jesse, she said. I'm not asking you for anything, he said. I know what week it is. I know what you've been through. I've been through it for 3 years, she said. Not just this week. I know, he said. I'm not asking you to be done with it because it's Tuesday. She looked at the soup. She looked at Clara. She looked at Jesse Pratt, who had found her on a road at 2 in the morning and had not asked any questions and had gone back for her bag and had come to check and had kept coming to check and had, apparently, a housekeeper named Berta who made good soup. The soup is going to get cold, she said. Yes, he said. Stay and eat, she said. He put the soup on the stove. He sat at Mrs. Coe's kitchen table. She sat across from him with Clara in her lap. They ate the soup. The winter continued. Gus did not come back in February. He sent a letter in March, through a lawyer that was the beginning of the legal complexity she had known was coming, and she showed it to Mrs. Coe, and Mrs. Coe showed it to a man she knew who had some legal understanding, and the situation was managed in the specific way that situations were managed when a woman had 2 capable women and 1 capable man on her side against a man who had expected to find her alone and findable. She worked the hotel. She was good at the work. She had been good at work her whole life, and the work here was the work of managing things, which she had always been able to do when the managing was allowed to be hers. Clara grew. By April, she was pulling herself to standing on the chair legs and looking at the world from the new height with the approval of someone who had been wanting this view. Jessie came on Tuesdays, and on the occasional Thursday, and in March on a Saturday, when the weather was good enough for a walk, and he appeared at the hotel door with the specific expression of a man who has an idea and is not certain of the reception but is going to try it. "Walk," he said. She looked at him. She looked at Clara. "She can't walk," she said. "I have 2 arms," he said. She looked at him. She got her coat. They walked the main street of Garrett and then the road north toward the edge of town and then back. And Clara was on Jessie's arm the whole way, conducting her inventory of the world from this new altitude. They did not talk about Gus. They talked about Fern, who was recovered and better rested than she'd been in years. They talked about Mrs. Coe's plans for the hotel in spring. They talked about the road she had walked in February and what it had looked like in the dark, which Jessie said he knew because he had driven it enough times but never thought about what it looked like without a lamp. "Dark," she said. "Dark." He agreed. She looked at the road north of town. "I was not going to stop," she said. "That night, even when my hand went numb." "I know," he said. "I just need you to know that," she said. "I wasn't waiting for someone to find me. I was going to make it." He looked at her. "I know," he said. "That's why I stayed." She looked at him. "You stayed because you knew I didn't need you to." She said. "Yes," he said. She walked beside him. Clara, from his arm, had decided his coat collar was interesting and was investigating it with both hands. "Jessie," she said. "Tea," he said. "Tuesday," she said. "Yes," he said. "And whatever else the week has," she said. He held her gaze. She held his. The road north of Garrett was the road she had walked in the dark in February, and it was different in the April afternoon. The same road made into something else, by the light and the season and the company. And Clara was on Jessie Pratt's arm, investigating his collar, and May Alcott was walking beside them in the spring. She had walked into the cold with her baby and no plan. She had been found, not rescued. She had been going to make it, and she had made it, and she needed that to be true, and it was. But found. The specific difference between a person who is alone and a person who has been found and who finds, in the finding, that they are willing to be known. She had walked toward something without knowing what it was. She had found work and a room, and a woman who led with the practical, and a man who came back to check and kept coming back because the reason had changed from Tuesday to Wednesday to something that was present and real and had Tuesdays in it and Saturdays apparently and whatever else the week had. She had walked out of the dark. She was in the light now. She kept walking.